Hi, I'm Chad Schmidt with Then and Now Gardening, and today we're going to show you how to make your own compost pile. This is some organic yeast, and this is some maple syrup. Now I'm using maple syrup because we're out of brown sugar and I didn't have means to go get it, and we used this on our last compost pile and it turned out really good anyway. So the main purpose is just for the sugar. It helps the yeast activate. Okay, so we have our sugar, we have our yeast, and then warm water. It's important to be warm. It helps the yeast start turning on again. It's dormant when it's dry like this. So probably first we'll put in. Now I normally use a quarter cup, but syrup has a lot of sugar, so just need a little bit. Mix it up to where it's in the water. I need a little more. Now I would normally use brown sugar or cane sugar, Honeyworks. Like I said, we used on our last pile. Apparently, maple syrup works. And then you add your yeast. Now the yeast is roughly a tablespoon. If you want an exact recipe, use a tablespoon. And just I'm mixing it in this so it can activate. And then what we're going to do before we put it in the compost pile, we will add it to a gallon of water. Mix it up real well. Make sure there's no clumps. And then you just let that sit. And we'll be back with you out of the pile. Okay, so this is what we used for the pile. We have some broke down leaves from last year, nice and dead. Some long clippings and leaves. This bag's started to compost. This black stuff will inoculate your garden or your compost pile for your garden. Make the process start a little quicker. There's already some of the positive biology in there. And then these green leaves. You can have any green. This is from a choke cherry tree. They have a lot of saplings, kind of take your property over, so we use these right now. But long clippings, anything not treated, is good to use. I have some of these sticks. I'll probably leave them in there. That's for air. They'll break down. They'll get pretty soft. Just try not to have too many sticks in your pile. More sticks you have, the longer the pile will take to break down. Okay, so here's about the amount of leaves we're going to be using this compost pile. This is just the dead, and this is what I do first. Scatter it out. Organize. You don't want to scatter it too thin, make more work for yourself, because eventually you're going to pile it up about like it was. Make sure you get any trash you see out. If you live in the city like we do, it's pretty hard to not have trash anywhere you are. Okay. About like that. Come here, Jeff. Bring me your bucket. He's been getting our leaves.
Hi, I'm Jeff in the field. Nice to meet you.
Okay, now obviously you need more than this, but just to show you the idea, I usually try and cover the whole pile to where you really can't see much under the green with any kind of green material. Green leaves, green lawn clippings, lettuce from dinner that night, whatever you can put on this pile that was just alive, it's still green. Let's get them kind of scattered like that, and we'll show you when we're done. We're going to get the whole pile covered. We'll probably have some long clippings in here too, but we'll be back in a minute and show you what it looks like before the next start of the process, sorry. Okay, here's our yeast mix we made earlier. See, it's rising, kind of bubbled out the edges a little bit. That's what yeast does. That's how you know that it's coming back to life. And I'm just going to add it to this bucket of water. Try and get it all. Don't want to waste it. It doesn't matter, it's just a stick or something to stir it. And then try and get it as even over your pile as possible. One of those garden hose attachments would be really nice. So you can put your own solution in it and it adds it to the garden hose spray. Starting to run out, trying to stretch it out. Don't want to make another batch, you gotta let it sit. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, put a garden hose on this, get this whole pile really wet. Now if you look, we didn't put anything under the pile. It's important to let this sit on the ground. The worms come up inside of it, start breaking things down, adding the enzymes and the bacteria and the fungus you need to actually get this process working. So, what I'm going to do is mix it up, and then we're going to add our garden hose. Just a light toss for now. You want as much green in every layer of this as you can. We'll mix it up better after we water it, because it's easier on the back if you mix it up now when it's not wet the first time. Just real quick. The reason why I spread it out like this is it takes a long time and a lot of watering to get the water all the way to the bottom if you pile it up first. And you want this to be wet. And the twigs in there are going to keep the air in there. You want lots of air in your pile too. So I get it as wet as possible the first time. Alright. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so now the yeast is added and the pile's watered down, we're going to mix it one more time and then go ahead and pile it up. Go on, Kenneth. Jeffrey, will you turn the water on for me, please?
On?
Yep. Okay, water it down one more time. Keep going, buddy. Real quick. Jeff, you want to go turn the water off?
Sure, Daddy.
Then start piling it into a dome. Alright, while I shape this, we'll be right back with you. I'll show you the next part. Okay, so this is the shape you want your pile to be in, kind of like a volcano. You want it to be as tall as it is wide, roughly. And then after you get it piled up, take this. This is just a normal garden fabric, landscape liner. I use this instead of a tarp because it breathes. It lets air in and out. And it lets some water in, but not all of it if we get a really big rainstorm. You don't want too much water going in during this first 2 weeks of the compost process.
Love you, King Light. Love you forever.
You want to try and get the whole pile covered. Takes about 4 pieces. Now I do piles this size, so it's easy enough for one person to manage them.
Yeah, that's good.
Just crisscross over the center.
Mhm. So, do like that. Cool.
Mostly lined up. Everything's covered. And then I weigh down the top with a tire. You can use anything. I just got a tire, so that's what I'm using. No water in it. And this is why I use the tire. This is my thermometer stick. You can pull this thing out, and if your compost pile is too hot to touch, oh, well, I'll use the inside. If your pile is too hot to touch, then you need to turn it. If it's warm, but you can hold on to your meter, then you're just right. And you know you've gotten all the way through and you feel that grit. Okay? You lay all the edges down.
Getting good.
almost done, so. Okay, now this pile's ready for the next 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks. This part of the process I don't put a time limit on. Once you take this thermometer stick out, you check this every day. Once you felt the heat go up and go back down to where it's almost cold, then the first part of the compost, the thermal part, is over.